Welcome, James Burns, our man in Peru. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Hanging out in Lima.
Yeah,
It's
Lima,
winter
Peru.
here. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's are
Yeah,
you
everything's
upside? Are you
opposite.
actually upside down?
I think I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I just
then,
straightened it out for this.
what's the weather like then? If it's winter there,
Well, today it was, I think it's about 67 and it was sunny. And I went out to run some errands and I had my, the little vest on with no sleeves. And it was actually quite warm.
A pretty
kind of
macho look. Just a vest with no sleeves. Were
there
you
you
just like
go.
a gun
Yeah.
show?
That's my look to say, don't mess with this foreigner.
All right. Well, let's talk about James Burns, a black man living in Peru. So, do you get any looks, or do you just mix right in?
Honestly, I just mix right in. And that is because a lot of people think I'm from Venezuela.
Oh,
so,
really?
so
Really?
there you go. Yeah, until I open my mouth.
So are Venezuelans darker complected, or they just look
They
different?
vary. Yeah, they vary. They're the ones that I've seen are and that I know. I know a couple of black Venezuelans. In fact, the guy who cuts my hair is black Venezuelan. And then there are some that actually look like Mexicans to me. Look like your brothers, Enrique.
My brothers, of course, they all think I'm Filipino or Hawaiian or what. They never get Mexican right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So why? Okay, so let's just roll back. Why did you decide to move to Peru? I mean, your family and everything's here in the States, and you just you told us you're leaving, and then, but why?
I had planned to leave Seattle when I retired. I'd gotten tired of 50 years of rain, gray skies. Uh, in fact, when I was working, standing on the bus stop in the cold. So I thought, when I retire, I think I'd like to live somewhere where it's warmer and more sun and less rain. And I was invited here by some acquaintances, and I said, "Hey, let me just check it out." So, and this was before I retired. So after I retired, I said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here, take the plunge, and see." And that's what I did because I got here in September of 2019.
What's the cost of living like? I mean, is it cheaper to live there? I guess Seattle is now one of the fifth most expensive city in the country.
Yeah, the cost of living is really low here. Particularly, me, I have American dollars, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, I'm amazed sometimes as to what I pay for things like food, etc. Now, granted, you can spend as much money here as you do there. It just depends on where you are. And one of the probably really expensive and touristy neighborhoods is Miraflores. So if you go there, you're going to pay more for rent, you're going to pay more for food, etc. But I live where the peeps live. I'm in a neighborhood called Jesus Maria, and it's just a regular, I guess you call it a middle class neighborhood.
so give us an idea of kind of what you pay for things. Tell us about what you pay for housing and food and all those things that you need to exist on a daily basis.
I did just for the heck of it for the month of June. I did a thing to see how much I would spend for housing, just everything, and it came to $1,700, and that's for food, that's for my cable, that's cable, Wi-Fi, My rent is around $615 a month. I have a, three-bedroom, two-bath, uh, 750 square foot apartment, and it's in a brand new building. I'm on the 14th floor. I overlook a park called Campo de Marte, and I see people jogging and exercising every day from my actually from my bedroom or from my living room.
So is
For
it
for
considered like a nicer place in terms of Peru?
Yeah, this is Jesus Maria is a nice neighborhood. It's I don't know if you'd call it a middle, probably a middle class.
Like
There's a middle class.
what would be a comparative neighborhood in Seattle?
Broadmoor, no.
I don't know. Their brothers living in Broadmoor.
Let's see, Matt. What would that be? Maybe like Beacon Hill,
Like we can
really.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
What's interesting? that I find here is that you don't have single family homes that are detached. They're all row houses or whatever,
Hmm.
and not many. In fact, there are no lawns. I did remember walking past some people in another neighborhood called Pueblo Libre, and they had a little patch of green. I mean, literally, not even big enough for a lawnmower, but there it was. It was their grass.
Wow. So, okay, you make this decision to move to Peru. What did you do to prepare yourself to then do the move and just, I mean, I know you speak a little bit of Spanish and you've spent time
Hey,
in Mexico,
yes,
but you still you gotta communicate.
yeah, you
How's
do.
that been?
It's actually been pretty good. My Spanish has improved quite a bit. I mean, I'm actually very comfortable when I go out and need to do things like shop. Although people still say stuff to me that I don't understand, and sometimes I'll tell them to.
On purpose.
Well, that's any time, but I'll ask them to say it again slower because they speak really fast. And
Yeah,
because I've found out many times people say something to me that I actually understand, but the way that they said it, I didn't understand. So,
because of
but
the
I'm
speed
able,
that
yeah,
they say it or the accent.
the speed,
Yeah.
the because I accents. I guess no matter where you are, no matter what language it is, some people don't speak their language very well, and I run into that. I have a good friend who's from Venezuela. Um, he and I communicate over WhatsApp quite a bit because I met him. He was a waiter in a restaurant. I went in one morning, and when he saw me come in and he seated me, he thought I was one of his brothers from Venezuela.
Ah.
And he said, "But and when you started talking, I knew you weren't." So, but when he writes, he just writes, and then he doesn't put periods in his sentences. I'm going, this is really bad.
So it
It's
all
just kind
runs
of funny.
together.
Yeah, it all runs together. So I try to decipher it, and I use a translator sometimes too to help
Mhm.
me.
So
Y-
what's it like there as far as the diversity of people? I mean, is it a kind of a monoculture that mostly people there are, you know, of Latin origins, or is it a mixture of people from all over the world? I mean, how um, multicultural is it?
I don't see a lot of foreigners here. It's all Latinos. Uh, and now with the issues and problems in Venezuela, a lot of Venezuelans are here. I think over 300,000 or
Wow.
more came to the country, but they're all Spanish speaking people. In fact, where I live, I rarely run into anyone who speaks English. And on occasion, like I will, I mean, it's really rare. And I remember being in the elevator here one day, and a guy asked me something, and he said, "Oh, do you speak English?" I said, "Yeah, you do too, I see."
Yeah.
So we spoke for a bit. And I have another friend. I haven't seen him since I've been back because of COVID, but I met him in the elevator when I used to live right on the ocean. And it was the same thing too. He said, "Oh, you speak English?" He said, "Can I practice English with you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he and I would get together, go walk his dog, and speak. I'd speak English to him.
So what about COVID? You know, because you kind of got trapped back in the United States because you were there, you came back to visit, and you kind of got trapped there because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
In fact,
what's
I
it
got
like there?
well right now. The pandemic is still out of control here. Really, I mean, the fact that they're now vaccinating people is great, but there are parts of the country that are still locked down. They have different what do you call it, levels of lockdown. And Lima used to be what's called, there's high alert, and then above that is extreme alert. So Lima was high alert, and I don't know where they are now, but they just lifted one of the restrictions, which was uh, no driving your personal cars on Sundays. You could go out, and this is well, over the course of my time here. You guys recall when I was here last year? Let's see, yeah, last year, and I actually got trapped here because I'd planned to come back to the U.S. in March of last year, and they locked the country down on March. I think it was March 16th,
Hmm.
and for 80 days we could not leave the house. Well, you could leave if you were going to go buy some food, or go to the bank, or go to the doctor. Other than that, you couldn't go outside. And after 80 days, I just couldn't take it anymore. So,
Yeah, well, because you're
uh,
confined to an apartment. It's not like
yeah,
you had a yard and that kind of thing. So you were inside. You were really in lockdown.
yeah,
So
inside.
if you wanted to go to the grocery store, I mean, what'd you do? You have to get a pass, or did you have to explain yourself to? Did they have police out?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember going to the grocery store, and I used Uber a lot when I first got here. And so I'd just call an Uber to go to the grocery store. I remember one time being stopped 3 times on the way through roadblocks. Where are you going? And I say, necesito comida. Okay, I
Also,
need food.
there were roadblocks set up.
Yeah, they're roadblocks. Yeah, yeah,
Man, the Trumpers would have lost their minds
Wow,
if that was going on here.
yeah. Americans couldn't have done this because of, hey, it's my freedom and blah blah blah. But
was
yeah,
there much backlash there, or because of the military, people weren't going to object?
no, there wasn't much backlash. But what people did was they just defied. I mean, before I left, they had arrested over 60,000 people for
Whoa,
curfew violations.
60,000 people?
Yeah, yeah. It's just crazy. People would have be having parties and all sorts of crazy things. But one thing about Peru, it's a very poor country. It's a developing slash third world country, and a lot of people have informal jobs, and that's one thing I do admire about what I've seen in Latin America. Whether it's I've been to, of course, Mexico and Bolivia, and people find a way to earn a living, and so a lot of people, they couldn't stay home. They had to get out and try to hustle and make money so that they could, feed their families. And uh, one thing I thought was the government here initially handled it very well because when COVID broke out, because they locked the country down within 2 weeks after they had their first case here. But then what they didn't do was when they locked the country down, they locked Lima down. If you were from another city, like, a couple of hours away, you couldn't leave. So you were stuck here. So there were people, I remember seeing on TV, people literally living on the streets, stuck because they could not leave the area. And there was one case where a bunch of people got together and said, we're leaving. And they all marched out towards the highway. And the police came and stopped them, police and military. That's one thing about Latin American countries. You see the military a lot. It's really different. Like, oh,
Oh, you mean it's not like militia like we see here everywhere with
yeah.
Well, Latin America, let's face it, is challenged. Central America as well, very challenged, and with COVID, even more so. The numbers have been really high, and getting the vaccine has been a real challenge. And then in some cases where you have leaders of the country who won't even acknowledge that COVID is an issue. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think that has been the case for Peru, right?
No, that hasn't been the case. And they have tried. I give them that. And, the vaccines are coming in. I find it interesting. I was watching the news, and a plane came in with Pfizer vaccine, 50,000 doses. And it was a big news story. And they unloaded the plane and they piled them all up, and people were taking pictures with the vaccines. It's like, oh, okay, that's different.
So the people your social circle is there, how many of them have been vaccinated?
Not many, because a lot of people I know are younger. So Peru, when they started vaccinations, they were vaccinating people 75 and older. So now they're down to I think people 55 and up are being vaccinated now. So people I know, like the guy who cuts my hair, he's in his 40s, so he's not.
And does that have to do with the fact that there's not enough vaccine for people there?
Enrique, I read that the country does have enough vaccine to vaccinate the entire population now, but it's very slow. There's a vaccination site directly across from where I live. In fact, it's in Campo de Marte. And some mornings I see lines that are maybe 8 or 10 blocks long,
Wow.
to get in. And then later in the day, it's less. So I don't know.
So Peru has been going through their own political issues right now. In fact,
yeah.
We talk to you every week and you send us photos of some of the marches and other political gatherings that have been
Mhm.
going on there. So what's up? Is it the presidential race that we're
Yeah.
looking at?
It's a presidential race. They had the election on June 6th, and here it is, what, July, today's the 8th, isn't it? Yeah, July 8th. They still haven't decided the race
Wow.
because the two candidates, they were separated by 60,000 votes. One candidate, and their constitution doesn't have a clause where if it's real close like that, they do a recount. So the candidate that came in second called fraud. So there was, there's some kind of investigation. These committees were meeting, and a lot of it, I didn't understand what they were doing just because my Spanish isn't good enough when I watch TV to know exactly what they're talking about. But from what I could gather last night, I think pretty soon they're going to declare Pedro Castillo president. He's the guy who had the votes. I did read that they found no evidence of fraud. Does that sound familiar?
Okay, but there is a distinct difference. In Peru, you have to vote. You have no choice, right?
Yeah, it's mandatory. And if you don't vote, you get fined.
How much?
It's around $40, $50 in US. It's
so that's
like
significant for people.
Yeah, it is. It's like 100 to 150. Their currency is called the Peruvian sol. And I always think, even when white people come here, they have soul because they have to change the currency.
But so $150, okay, in Seoul, like you said, $45 in US. What does that mean in terms of buying power? I mean, how would that be compared to how much, like in Seattle?
A friend of mine. Oh, I do have one friend who's been vaccinated. He's from Australia. He's about 73 years old.
You're good. You've already been vaccinated.
And that's one thing I wanted to do was get vaccinated before I came here.
Mm-hmm.
But I was telling his name is Tony. I was telling him one day. I said, "Why is it when I pull out a $100 Peruvian sol, people are like, oh, and they have to make change, and it's a big deal. It's like this is like 25 or 27 US dollars." But he said, "Well, think about it. It's probably equivalent to about what a $100 bill, a US $100 bill is in the US." And that made sense to me. So
how did he end up in Peru?
I don't know. I know he's married to a Peruvian woman, and he wanted to immigrate from Australia when he retired, and he's been here about 10 years. So, but it's really funny. He's adapted really well, but he doesn't speak any more Spanish than I do. In fact, I think I speak more than he does.
Now, do you see many white people?
No, I do not.
Is that refreshing? Being from Seattle?
Yeah, it's quite refreshing, quite different. Because the thing about being here is, as you guys know, growing up, people of color in the United States, you're always going to be judged. And there's just certain things you say and do. But here, none of that stuff applies for me. I'm just another person. And yeah, I don't see white people here.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I feel that way like when I go to Hawaii, because then you're part of the dominant culture.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like when you travel to Mexico, you just feel more at ease.
Yeah.
Even though you're a foreigner, visually and just culturally, you feel more at ease.
Yeah.
Actually, when I go to Hawaii, they think I'm a local. So, and I have the guys, saying,
"Yeah,
hey,
where are you going in Hawaii?"
No, really, they do. I mean, I get people that
because
hey,
you're
bro,
dark.
Yeah. And so, James, how do you feel about being, you grew up in this country, here in the U.S., and the issues of being a black man here. Do you feel freer there in Peru?
Actually, I do. Because as I said, I just don't feel anybody's judging me. I don't know. It's just, I don't have that baggage. I can just be me. And they don't understand much of me when I talk, but hey, I'm just being me. And I just don't worry about that. I can be with anybody because, Peruvians, they come in different colors too. And they're actually black people here as well. And on occasion, I'll see a black Peruvian. It's like, oh, there's a black person. But yeah, I just feel freer here.
And they're friendly, just you're just another guy.
I'm just another guy. People here are friendly, but they're not real outgoing, has been my experience. If you say something to them, then they'll be very friendly and talk to you. But it's very rare that I have anyone that initiates a conversation like that.
Yeah.
So are there any Karens in Peru?
I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any of that behavior either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting. Wasn't the person running against the person that looks like they're going to win for the presidency is of Japanese descent.
Yeah,
and
Fujimori.
whose father, was a Fujimori. What is it? Alberto Fujimori, was that his
Alberto
name?
Fujimori.
Yeah, who was once president. Bunch of corruption, all that bad stuff. But is there an Asian population in Peru? Is that
There is. Although the only time I see Asians is I've been to a clinic called it's a Japanese polyclinic, and it was founded by the Japanese over 100 years ago. And I've seen 2 doctors there, and they were Japanese. So, and I did go to Chinatown looking for an herb, and, and there was a Chinese guy who was the doctor that sold me this herb stuff, and with no real explanation on how to use it. And I boiled the herbs, and I said, "Man, this looks like dirty water."
Yeah.
But
did he speak with a Spanish with a Chinese accent, or because I've heard that in Mexico actually?
My friend that I was with talked to him because I couldn't explain all the stuff that I wanted. So I kind of stood back. I don't know. One thing I do know is I had written out in Spanish what I was looking for, and he couldn't read the Spanish. And another guy who was standing there said, "You need to take that and translate it into Chinese."
Oh, really?
And then give it to him.
So what was the Chinatown like? Was it like San Francisco? Was it like Seattle's?
Not quite. I mean, you know how there's certain buildings have the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of storefronts like that, but really not like Seattle.
So there was just some businesses, but there wasn't like just hustling and bustling with a lot of Chinese people.
No. In fact, I didn't see any Chinese people in Chinatown, other than the good doctor behind.
But there's a lot of Peruvian dishes that are Chinese dishes, which is really odd to me.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food there?
I would have to say pollo a la brasa, which is really just roasted chicken, but the way they do it, the flavor is so good. And Matt can attest to this.
Yes, yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah. And so do you order out a lot, or since you're still kind of locked down because of COVID to some degree?
Yeah, I do. And also you can go into restaurants and eat, and I've done that a few times, but I usually order out once a day. Although now I've been on a better diet because I went to see this naturopath because I want to be healthier. But yeah, just order out, and there's so many different things you can do. One thing that's interesting is they have this huge delivery force, and they're on motorcycles, and they just deliver food all over the place and other things too. So I have an app on my phone. If I want to order dinner or whatever, I just go to the app and order, and then soon a guy will call when he gets here with my food. And I like the app because you can track where the person is. You can see the bike, moving down the road or whatever. And it's so funny because people here speak really fast. So my phone will ring here, and I'll answer the phone, and it'll be Rapi. The only thing I'm listening for is Rapi. And I'll say, "Ya boy," which means I'm coming, and I go downstairs to get the food.
Oh, wow.
And how much is dinner, or how much do you pay for food?
I might spend for dinner maybe $7 or $8. It's not much.
And do you get a lot of food?
Actually, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something that when you first moved there that you missed was they didn't have bread like they have here or in a lot of countries.
Let's see. What kind of bread? I'm trying to remember.
Because you said they just have these kind of a weird cracker type bread.
Now, you must have been talking to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Because
do they do tortillas? Do they have tortillas?
Yeah, there's something that kind of looks like a tortilla. I've never eaten it because I Although I did order something from Chili's, and it came in tortillas.
From Chili's.
Chili's, like
Chili's.
the
Yeah, like
franchise Chili's.
like the
Oh
franchise
wow.
Chili's.
Do they have a
Yeah.
McDonald's there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all that stuff here. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes.
Ooh, there you go.
Have you tried it? Have you gone to any of those places?
I haven't. I've only stuck with the traditional food here.
Yeah.
I'm about to flip a light on. It got dark on me. See, it's late here. It's
Your light looks good.
it's six.
Us. Yeah.
Looks kind of. I don't look grainy.
No. No,
Okay.
you don't. You know,
Okay,
no
that's
more than
cool.
usual. So, you're all right. So recently there was an earthquake. And
Yeah.
I don't know if Peru has lots of earthquakes, but does it? And how'd you handle the earthquake?
Well, we had a 6.0 earthquake
Wow, that's big.
a couple of weeks ago, and I'm on the 14th floor of this 25-story building, and it swayed for about a minute,
Whoa.
and it was, and only thing I was thinking was, I hope they had really good construction here.
Yeah.
But they do have earthquakes on occasion. This is the second one I've been in since I've been here. The first one wasn't quite as strong as the one that happened just recently, but yeah, they do have them. In fact, I was watching TV, and they said the headline or the title that was over the screen said something about Peru could have a disaster at any time. And I said, hey, just like Seattle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Didn't
it's
get
on
away from
it's on a
that.
volcanic subduction zone, right? I mean, the mountains are right there.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
have you traveled around the country anymore?
Not since I've been back, but the first time I was here, I did do some traveling. In fact, I think I told you guys I planned to go to Machu Picchu this month, but it turns out the best time to go is in June because they have this big festival.
Mhm.
That's much better thing to witness. So I'll just put that off till next year.
So,
But
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say I did go last year to through the Andes Mountains to a small town called Cochabamba, and it was to witness and also participate in the Day of the Dead festivities, and it was really interesting. And one of the things that there was a lot of people drunk in that town. Man. It was a small town. Just mucho borrachos. There's just
A lot
people
of drunks.
drunk
Yeah.
like you couldn't believe, because there's somebody who, obviously a very well-off person, provided all the beer for the weekend for the whole
Oh,
town.
nice.
And people were just drinking like crazy. But they were dancing, and there was lots of music, and there was one thing where there was music playing, and a lot of people were in a circle, and there was one person had a cup and had a bottle of beer, and they would pour the beer in the cup, drink most of it, and then throw it out, and then pass the cup. So when that came to me, I didn't want to do it, and my amiga said, "It's rude if you don't do that." So I said, "Okay." So I took the bottle and I poured a little bit in it, and I drank a little bit, and I tossed it out, and I passed the cup, and it goes all the way around.
Yeah.
So this was before COVID.
And
Okay,
you're not
so-
much of a drinker either. So yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, okay, so living there, two questions. One is the thing you miss most about home, and what's the thing that you've learned to really love since you've been there?
Gosh, what I miss, I have a big list of things that I'm going to buy and bring back, food-wise, that I can. But one thing I miss is my organic powder for my shakes. I mean, other than
That's pretty bougie, James.
Yeah, that is.
other than, of course, missing my family and friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do
But-
how do your family? You got a couple of girls, and how do they feel about their old man in Peru?
They're very supportive, and of course, we talk, FaceTime and all that. So, really, it's even like my sister. I mean, I see my sister just as much as I did when I was in Seattle, because I lived in, at one time it was in Mukilteo, and then in South Everett, and she lives in Seattle, so I didn't see her very much. But and I will come back once or twice a year. See, that's the other thing. You asked me earlier about the cost of living here. It's so low. I live on maybe a third of my retirement income, which frees up a lot of money to travel. which is when the pandemic is over, that's what I plan to do, is go see more of the world.
So,
But what, yeah.
life for James Burns ahead? What is it? More years in Peru, or what? What are you planning to do?
Well, the jury's still out because Peru is a lot like Seattle in that it's cloudy a lot. It's right on the coast, like we're right on the ocean. So one thing I want to have was more sun. Now in the summertime, there's more sun, but it was actually sunny today, and we're in the middle of winter right now. But I would like to have more sunshine and actually a warmer winter. I mean, if you're 60 to 65 generally in the winter, it's not bad. I mean, that's a great winter.
That's pretty good.
I want more. So, part of me says
You're so high maintenance. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking to, I might, pick another country to go live in for a while too, and see another Latin American country. Because, I thought I was going to be living in Mexico for a while, but Mexico is kind of scary to me at this point, because of the cartels.
Yeah.
So,
And you feel safer there in Peru?
I do. I mean, Peru has its crime, but there's people who are pickpockets and that kind of stuff. You just have to.
Yeah, it's a big city.
Look out for
that.
that
Lima's
stuff.
a big city.
Yeah, there's like almost 10 million people here.
Wow.
So, but other than that, I feel safe. I mean, I wouldn't go walking around at midnight or anything like that. But yeah, just in general.
So James, what advice would you give to someone who's in that retirement age, thinking about living someplace else, as you have chosen to do?
I'd say do some research, visit. And it helps if you have somebody there that can help you out. Because for me, I'm not brave enough just to go into someplace cold, especially in a country I don't speak the language well. So, but I would just do that, just research it and then visit a few times and see if it's to your liking. And it's important too, the cost of living. Is that going to fit into your budget? And a lot of people, as you probably know, move to places like Mexico and Peru and other South American countries because the cost of living is lower. And the U.S. dollar goes so much further, because the U.S. dollar right now is about 4 Peruvian dollars to 1 U.S. dollar, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Our man in Peru, James Burns. Hey, thanks for filling us in on your life there, and stay safe.
Thank you. You guys too. I know you guys are coming out of the COVID, and Matt, you especially stay safe.
Yeah, I won't be provoking anyone right now.
Yeah, well, I'll believe that when I see it, actually. All right.
Thanks, James.
Take care.
You guys,
All
take
right.
care. See you soon.
Adios.
Ciao.